Hello and welcome to the Keto Answers podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Gustin, and joining me this week is David Goggins. Man, this is a special episode. This is not your typical advice episode like we usually give of practical things to take away from a nutrition standpoint, but as far as importance of everything that you would want to do to take any other advice that we have in any other podcast and put it to work, this is the episode for you. This is an episode entirely on mindset. And man, David's background, this is a hard dude. He has been through an incredible amount. I remember when I first heard of his story, I think it was about a year ago, I got with one of my team members, Alex, and I said, we have to get this guy on the show. I mean, this guy's story is so motivating and so incredible. And the way he's put that to work to inspire other people to make the same amount of changes, whether you want to lose 5 pounds, 100 pounds, or make any change in your life, this is the conversation you need to hear. Real talk. A lot of swearing in this thing. This guy doesn't back down. So if you are offended by that, tune out now. But if not, and you're looking for a little bit of inspiration to start your day off right, end your day off right, whatever it is, this is the conversation you've been waiting for. So without further explanation, my conversation with David Goggins. Before we get to the episode, I wanted to chat about our sponsor, Perfect Keto. Perfect Keto is all about making a ketogenic diet healthy and accessible. Whether you're reading all of our online guides or articles or enjoying Perfect Keto's exogenous ketones or any other keto-friendly products, everything you need to make keto work for you is at perfectketo.com. I know what you're thinking. Hey, aren't you the founder of Perfect Keto? Yep, that's right. And all of my insanely high standards have been put into making each and every product. My background as a functional medicine clinician helps me craft the cleanest and healthiest possible products and the best information about a ketogenic diet. Head on over to perfectketo.com to learn anything you need to know about the ketogenic diet. And if you've never tried any of our products before, feel free to use the code KETOPODCAST for 20% off your first order. With that being said, let's get into the show. David, thanks for joining on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
So the first time we were going to record, your assistant emailed us and she goes, David is currently fighting wildfires right now. So he can't jump on the podcast. So that's how you live life, my man, huh?
Yeah, basically I'm always looking for the next thing. Just trying to stay way outside of my, your mind likes to go towards a comfortable place. And I mean, people think that I'm some freak of nature. My mind wants to get comfortable as fast as possible. So I am constantly trying to, redirect it into a place where it realizes that I'm not going to allow it to be comfortable, and I'm not going to allow my mind to control what's going on in my life.
Right. And I don't even know how we would kind of encapsulate your background and everything that you've gone through. I mean, you're probably at this point getting a little comfortable with summing it up for the book that you just launched. I mean, right. we don't have 6, 10, 12, 14 hours like the book is. I mean, how do you even explain to people now that, just a brief history of all of the shit that you went through?
Well, basically, I can sum it up like this, man. I had a really jacked up childhood like a lot of us do. A lot of us just don't want to talk about it. I've opened up and I talk about my childhood. I talk about my life, and I was abused growing up by my father. He was an alcoholic. So instead of going to school, pretty much me and my brother, we worked his skating rink and his bar. So from the time I was able to walk, I was working that skating rink, scraping gum off the floors and whatnot. And my dad being an alcoholic, he was a really abusive man. He was an insecure guy. And he beat the soul out of my mom, myself, and my brother. So, having no foundation growing up, that's a really tough way. I had a learning disability. I stuttered really bad. I had a really bad stutter. Patches of hair falling out of my head at a young age. White splotches all over my skin from stress. They threatened to put me in a special school. You know what a special school is? They're going to put a nice big title on you that, you're going to be this special kid the rest of your life. So I had a lot of things to overcome growing up. And then we moved to a small town. And it was not everybody was racist, but there was about 5 black families there. And I got called nigger quite often. I got threatened quite often. And it was just a hard way to go. My mom worked 3 jobs. We lived in a $7 a month place for about 2 years in that time frame. And it was a hard road to hoe. So I had no real mentors, no real leadership, nobody to really show me the ropes because my mom was working so hard. And, my dad lived in Buffalo and I was now in Indiana. So I had to really teach myself a lot. And what I realized was that I was a very insecure kid that wanted friends, that didn't know how to get friends. So I would lie and do whatever I could to do that. I cheated all through school because when I heard about them trying to put me in a special school, I just started figuring out ways to stay ahead. So I started cheating a lot. So I cheated a lot in school, and that's just how it was. I had a fourth grade reading level my junior year in school. So it was just a hard road to hoe.
And then, there were obviously some changes that happened that brought you to, I think you're known very well for your career in the military. Not an easy path either.
No. So what happened was I realized my junior year, I wanted to join the military. I realized, honestly, like way before then, I wanted to join the military. But I thought to be in the military, you had to, just do push-ups and sit-ups. I thought you had to be some strong guy. I didn't know that there was an actual, it's just called an ASVAB test. We had to take this written test. And me and written tests weren't actually best friends since I copied all through school. So what I did was I got my friend and we went to the recruiter's office and I took this ASVAB test and I thought I would cheat off of him. Come to find out, man, I couldn't cheat off of him because there was different versions of the test that we all had. So I had a different version than what he had. And that's where I started to really realize I had to learn all of school within like 6 months to retake this test. And that's when the journey began for me. So I finally passed this test. I finally get in the military and I realized I'm terrified of water. So that began a whole nother series of failures and different events. And then I went from, getting out of that program, quitting that program, to weighing 175 pounds to weighing almost 300 pounds. Then getting out of the military and then realizing now I want to be a Navy SEAL because I'm now, my life and what was going on in my life, I wasn't facing my fears. I wasn't facing myself. I wasn't facing all the issues I was going through in life. I just kept on choosing the path of least resistance, which kept on pushing me into a corner of being a failure, of feeling insecure, of having self-doubt, of having all those insecurities that would pop up in my head. So I started facing them. So at around 23, 23, I started, on this journey to losing weight, to becoming smarter, to facing fears, to facing adversity, to totally changing how I thought about life and stop using it as a crutch and start finding strength within my own personal story. And that's what I started doing.
Yeah, but I think that you're too humble of a guy here to really dig into the details on a podcast like this because, the story, even listening to your audiobook and hearing you on podcasts is, as far as a little bit more of the detail, it wasn't that you just lost some weight and started studying a little bit more. This is a giant change, right? So, how many pounds of fat did you have to lose in how many days?
So basically, I went to the recruiter's office and I want to be Navy SEAL. And once again, it's not that easy. It took several weeks for a recruiter to finally see me. I was 297 pounds. And so I met a guy named Steven Saljo. He was a recruiter for the Navy Reserves. And he let me come in. And I walked in the office. He was quite shocked to see that I wanted to be a Navy SEAL because I was 297 pounds. And to make a long story short, I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So that being said, I thought it was impossible. I said, there's no way in hell I can lose, basically over a pound a day and come back and try to be a SEAL. But I had a hard day at work, which I describe in the book. And that bad day at work led me to believe that I can't do this shit anymore, that I can't continue living the life that I'm living right now. And I really put everything on myself to become a Navy SEAL. And for those of you who get the book and read the book, it's quite a transformation from the young man I was to the man I am now, from just literally changing my mindset to actually losing the weight, to retaking the ASVAB test again from like the 50th time it felt like, to getting the Navy SEALs, to going through 3 hell weeks, the only person to do that, And the story goes on and on and on. So yeah, it was a hard journey to do.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you describe it again in full clarity in the book, but what you had to do basically to recommit and change yourself as a person, in that I think it seemed like one of the turning points of your life to, when you wanted to get into buds and enlist. And this is one of those things where it was, I'm sure it was a struggle. And you talked about the kind of a turning point of, one day you skipped a pull up or you missed a pull up on a set, and you just faced it and went back and went through it all over again. And like, what was that mindset shift like? Was there a point, or was it just kind of a gradual thing over those 3 months that hardened you to take you to one next step?
You know what? It was actually over years. So my mind was, I had these two different voices in my head. The one voice, like I always say, it was guiding me towards a very comfortable place. And that comfortable place made me fat, made me very, take the easy route. This other voice was saying, hey man, we need to start showing up. We need to start showing up and playing till you hear the fucking whistle. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't have any of those tools to do that. I didn't want to play till I heard the whistle. I didn't want to play through pain. I didn't want to play through insecurity. So basically, I had to start listening to that voice that was directing me towards a life of actually pushing myself and actually being accountable for what I wasn't doing in my own personal life. So I started just listening to that voice versus the easier voice. And that day you talk about with the pull-ups, it haunted me. I didn't complete the task I set out to do. In the old David Goggins, that would have been fine. I'd have went home, got a cheeseburger, French fries, chocolate milkshake, and I'd been good to go. This new guy that I was forming was realizing that this road that you're taking isn't the fucking right road. It's not the right path. So I started really being almost, I guess, haunted by my own personal weakness. I was being haunted by I call it the quitting mind. The quitting mind that I once had, it was haunting me now, and it wasn't making me feel good. So instead of living in that quitting mind, I started to face the quitting mind and making it a reality that I want to change my reality into the reality that I want to be this person.
Yeah, it's one of these things that when you got through that, that doesn't make you a Navy SEAL. Like you basically did that and got through that for an opportunity. Basically, that was your entrance to Hell Week, right? And so that was, grinding through all that stuff and facing that was not to meet some finish line. That was basically to start. No.
And that's the thing about it, man. Like, so when you're 297 pounds, you're afraid of water. And you're working for a job where you're spraying for cockroaches at nighttime. You're making $1,000 a month, okay? And you're going to choose to put all your money. So let's say you're at a casino in Las Vegas, and you're down to your last $1,000, and you put all that $1,000, your last $1,000 you have, not just in Las Vegas, but that you have in your life. And you put all that $1,000 on a number. I put all my $1,000 on David Goggins becoming a Navy SEAL. I'm 297 pounds. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I have all these different hurdles to do. And I put all my money on myself to complete the world's hardest training. So what I'm trying to get to is there is no guarantee that this is going to happen. Matter of fact, my guarantee was, there's a guarantee that I'm going to come back home broken and have even a bigger failure than I was. So, that's the whole thing about it, man. I put everything on myself. There was no guarantee at all. It was quite frightening.
Why do you think people now are at a point where they think there's a finish line and they think that, once they get there, they'll be good. And finally they'll reach some point and make it.
It makes life more bearable. We're all looking for that finish line. We're all looking for that place of comfort. We're all looking for that place to exhale and relax and to put our guard down. And I call it in my book, armoring your mind. We are all looking forward to taking the armor off our mind and A lot of people live like that. A lot of people live with the finish line. And when you have that finish line mindset, you become comfortable. You have the I've arrived mindset. And once you have that mindset, your journey in life comes to a nice halt. And I just don't believe in the finish line mindset. I believe that no matter if you're sick, if you have a disability, whatever, you're always trying to redefine your 100%. You're always trying to find your new 100%. You're always trying to find your new normal. Whatever that may be, you're always trying to find a new normal in your life.
One of the things, and I'm sure you can probably relate to this, is I've been grinding for a long period of time now. I'd say 12, 14, 15 years, just incessantly. And I get people asking me every time I hit a new benchmark, a new milestone of, well, you need to slow down now and celebrate and pause and like reflect and like be so proud of everything. And I just look at them and I go, you don't get it. Like I'm just starting. Like this is just starting. And that's been the mentality for the last however many years. I mean, where are you at in that? I mean, do you sit and celebrate every time you hit a new milestone, or how do you blend that? Because I feel guilty. I feel kind of like an asshole when people are saying that. I'm like, no, next step, next up.
No, I definitely believe in the mindset that you have. But as I've gotten older, I realized that you have to, I wouldn't say sit there and put your head up your ass and kiss your own ass for a long period of time, because that's not what it's about. But it is about, you have to take a day to sit back and look at what you've accomplished, because you have to sit back and be proud of what you've done. But like I say, take a day. Don't take the rest of your fucking life to sit back and kiss your own ass on what you've done. Take a day, look at it, look back on all the hard work you put into getting there. And as you're looking at it, once that 24-hour period comes, you get that nice piece of paper out and start writing the next damn plan of attack of the next damn mission in your life. Don't sit in your own look at me, for too long, because that can get, it can get pretty comfortable in that mindset.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that everybody has their demons. Everybody has their shit that's bringing them down. And for me, it's a way to push that away and always progress and be better and stay better. And I think that what people don't realize is that when you hit that finish line mentality and stop moving forward, those demons are coming out again. And I think that...
100%, man. You said it right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, is that what you do as far as, I mean, when you hit something that, that you've wanted for a while, that you work towards, is it reflecting with a piece of paper, pen and paper? Or like, how do you decide what's next? How did you decide? I mean, the firefighting is obviously a new thing. I mean, I heard about you last week on Rogan and the podcast scheduling, you were deep fighting that stuff last time. So, I mean, how do you figure out what's next for you?
So basically for me, it's that thing that I'm like, that seems like it would suck. It seems like it would really not be very fun to do that right now in my life. I really don't feel like getting up and living in the fucking woods and digging fire line all in the woods and cutting down trees and doing all that hard work at 43, because I've done it for so long. I've been getting after it for so long. And it's that kind of mentality. It's doing those kind of jobs for me that remind me of the hard work that it took me to get to where I'm at today. So I'm always looking for that reminder, because sometimes we get so far away from our story, we get so far away from our roots and where we came from, that we forget, kind of the process of how to get to where we need to get going. So I'm always in the fact of going back to scratch. Going back to the foundation and the fundamentals of basically just being nobody, just going back to being nobody. And that's when you work your absolute hardest. When you work your absolute hardest is when you're just David Goggins, another guy with a tool on a line, digging a fire line. And there's so much reflection there. And there's so much, you humble yourself every time you go back to scratch. And having that humble mentality of the refrigerator is never full. Once that refrigerator in your house gets full And you can look in there and you're like, you know what, man? It's like, what do I want to eat today? Versus saying, hey, here's a bologna sandwich and you're happy with that. Now we have so many fucking choices and options because we developed this, we built this great life for ourselves, which is great. That's what the world's all about. It's all about building a better life for yourself. But what happens is we forget that back in the day, that fucking bologna sandwich tastes just as good as a fucking steak. And that's what we forget. And I want to always make sure that I remember that bologna sandwich, that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I didn't have all the options I have today of, hey, where do you want to go? And you're in a car going to a restaurant, and every motherfucker in the car is like this. Well, I don't know where I want to go because we have so many fucking choices. So I'm always about, hey, just give me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a bologna sandwich. I'm good to fucking go. So that's just the mentality.
So you seem to gravitate towards a lot of physical things. So we didn't chat about a lot of your path after 3 Hell Weeks and all this different stuff. But I mean, again, listen to audiobook, listen to some of the podcasts you've been on about all of the things that you've accomplished. I mean, the amount of endurance races that you've done, the pull-up stuff. I mean, and look at your Instagram and all the things you're chasing after. It seems to be very, very physically oriented with you. Is that by design? Do you think that has a certain edge over, per se, like a mental challenges, or how do you decide physical versus mental?
Well, I'm really big in the physical challenge just because it's immediate feedback to suck. The physical challenge gives you an immediate mental challenge. It's an immediate mental. I'm not saying go out and do it's all relative. I've run 205 miles at one time. That might be the equivalent to somebody running 3 miles. It's all relative. It's all relative. But what people don't know is this whole challenging myself. It really started off with mental, where I couldn't read, I couldn't write. I was a junior in high school, and I had to literally almost teach myself through self-discipline on how to do that. So by me sitting at a kitchen table by myself and going through all of these through putting the repetition in, having a learning disability, I learn very different than most people. So what may take you an hour to learn, it may take me 6 fucking days to learn the same shit. So when you have that kind of patience and self-discipline to do that, I started realizing that, my God, man, through this kind of self-discipline, all this stuff is possible. So it kind of translated over to the physical side of it all.
And now, what do you think that physical struggle, that suck, all that, the mental struggle, everything, let's say, like you said, it's all relative, 3 miles, 200 miles, whatever, pushing past that stuff. I mean, what do you think that equips people with as far as tool?
The biggest tool it does for you is it starts to callous over your victim's mentality. We have to be, I'm not saying once again, kissing your own ass, but a lot of us are insecure. A lot of us have a lot of problems, a lot of demons that we like to, shove under a rug. What all this stuff does is you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of the reflection that you see. And you have to earn that. You can't just wake up in the morning and read some fucking feel-good book, look in the fucking mirror and say, oh my God, I feel great. That book made me feel fucking great about myself. No, it comes through hard work, dedication, suffering, sacrifice, and doing that on a fucking repeat. You have to repeat that process. And through that repeating of that process, what happens is you look in the mirror and you no longer care about what the fuck anybody thinks or what they say about you, how they judge you, because now the reflection in the mirror is exactly what you wanted it to be. And once you start to see that in the mirror, that's what all of this is about. It's not about fucking running this far or going to this school or having this big fucking fat resume. It's all about looking in the mirror and being proud of the fucking reflection that you see and no longer looking for outside applause. Like, oh my God, man, you did great. No, fuck you. I don't care if you think I did great. I don't give a shit because I know I did great. I feel good about myself. And that takes care of all the fluffy bullshit that we're looking for from social media, from people, from these nice big crowds at the daggone races, and everybody cheering you on, saying, great job. You don't give a fuck about that anymore. You now can go out on a run or do whatever by yourself and you're applauding yourself. It's all about being your biggest hero. That's what it's all about. You are the hero of your story. That's what it's about, man.
Yeah. So I come from a background in healthcare, and I had a lot of patients come in busted, totally fucked up in many different ways, that I've gone to other doctors, and those doctors just wrote them a prescription and they came into my office. And what I thought was absolutely absurd is that kind of a precondition to being a healthy human being physically, you have to master a few very simple things. You have to eat real food, you have to move your body, you have to get a lot of sleep. And I don't want to have a conversation about a prescription or anything or any intervention until people master those things, because a lot of times that can take care of most physical problems. And so I think that there's almost an analog here where people are so emotionally and mentally out of sorts, and they go to a therapist, and then the therapist writes them a prescription of talking about their feelings and feeling bad for themselves and wallowing to that without thinking about what are the simple things that no one wants to do. No one wants to eat healthy. No one wants to move their body. It's easier not to. And I think that what you're preaching, a lot of this stuff, is sort of this, the things from a mental standpoint that should just be foundational, that are just harder than not doing them. And so people don't do them. But we just skip past that, and we want a quick fix. And the quick fix, like you said, it's attention from social media. It's being able to coast by through life and everybody have an iPhone and have full access to everything. I mean, what are some of those other things like that you think could be foundational, like nutrition, movement, and sleep are to a physical body? What about for the mind?
Quiet. You need quiet. You don't need it. You have to have it. You will not progress further in life until you shut the noise out. There's so much noise from this new world we live in. Everything is so high tech. Everything is so fast. Everything is so computerized. Everything is so geeked the fuck out. The most important, and I say it all the time, the most powerful thing we have is our minds, is our brains. We don't use them enough. And for our brain to get truly, truly dialed in, sharpened like a sword, you have to have a lot of quiet. You must find peace and quiet within your mind. You cannot think with noise. You must find quiet. And that's one of the biggest things I realized about my life, was it was so noisy. There were so many different voices in my head from outside chatter of this person saying this and that person saying this. And then you got your own weak ass chatter in your head saying, like the most important conversation when you have yourself. I say it all the time. That conversation is all fucking mucked up because you have everybody's voice in your head. You've got to develop a quiet mind to fight the quitting mind. So that's just like sleep, nutrition, and all those things you said. I truly agree with what you said. You have to also develop a spot in your life where you have a quiet mind to truly grow. And
I think that you would probably agree that can come very easily when you show up and you struggle through some physical work.
100%. A quiet mind comes very quickly when you're out there truly alone, fighting whatever you're fighting, whatever you're doing physically. It comes really fast because honestly, there's no teammate out there with you. It's you alone in your own mind. And that's when you know who you really are, when you're facing all those questions. And we all know what I'm talking about, when those questions start to pop up, when you're fatigued and you're tired and you want to quit. Why you quit is because you don't have the answers to the questions. You must have the answers to the questions that want you to quit. If you have the answers, you're doomed to fail.
Yeah, man, one of the things that I've kind of realized over a long period of time is that I roll out of bed, I drink some water, and I'm straight out of the door and I'm at the gym. And I know that every day that I do that before anything else, the day it's cake. It's easy. It doesn't matter. And every single problem that pops up is always easier. I'm not going to have a PR every single day. I'm not going to set any records. A lot of days they suck, frankly. But at least going and working through that and knowing that the rest of the day is ahead of me, and that I at least showed up and did my work, easy.
I truly agree, man. I call that waking up in the morning and winning the war against yourself. So that's why your mentality is the way it is when you go out there and you're facing the world. Your mind knows, I've already kicked myself in the ass today. I've already controlled what I can control. I went to the gym. I woke up. I did my shit. Fuck PRing. I got up and did my shit. I overcame myself first thing in the morning. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that, like you said before, there's a victim's mentality. Can you just speak a little bit more on what that means to you? And maybe somebody now realizes, okay, I'm at that point right now. But I mean, you have a lot of challenges in the book. People can kind of start notching in the right direction. But I mean, how do people flip this mindset? I mean, I see it everywhere as well.
Well, for me, the victim's mentality, it was my life. So yeah, like I said, a lot of us have some of us come from a bad childhood. Some of us may have a learning disability. Some of us may be obese. Some of us may be a victim of some sort, been abused in many ways, mentally, physically, spiritually, been abused. And I don't know where you come from, but you start to develop this mentality of woe is me, poopy pants, kicking rock down the street with my head down mentality. And a lot of us have been there. I've been there many times in my life. But what happens is no one is coming back to save you now. Whoever abused you, whoever wronged you, it is now yours and yours alone to own. And that's a very scary thing. It feels very good to sit on your couch with a nice big fat pizza every night and sit back and bitch and complain about how my life was, about he did this to me, she did this to me, this happened to me, this is why I'm here. You're right. This is why you're here. That's your victim's mentality. Nothing's going to change until you change how you look at that victim's mentality. So what that means is if no one's come back to save you, who is going to save you? Yourself. All you have now, all the bullshit that's happened to you, you have yourself. So you might as well go ahead and, like I said, I talk about callousing over the victim's mentality, callous. I did 67,000 pull-ups in preparation to do a Guinness Book of World Records of 4,030 that I did. My hands became really callous. This is where I come up with it. My hands became callous to protect my hands from the pull-up bar. So to protect yourself from your victim's mentality, you have to start callousing over that thing with learning to face those things that have put you in the dungeon mentally, that have put you into the sewer mentally. As you face them, as you start to battle these things, as you go to war with yourself, you start to callous over that victim's mentality, and no longer does your mind control you. You start to control it. And that's what it's all about. You want to control your own mind. But we all live in a world where our mind controls us and directs us into that nice soft spot that we all love.
Yeah, and one of the things that I heard you say in the audiobook, which is so true and kind of ties to this, is that I mean, bullies suck, they're mean, they're awful, but they tell the truth most of the time. And
yes.
So what's the next step?
So, like when I was growing up, some people would say some mean things to me. A bully a lot of times is a truthful motherfucker. A truthful motherfucker. Sometimes if you sit back from a different vantage point, I talk about vantage point, tactical, just taking different tactical vantage points in life. You have to take a step back. Even though a bully's a piece of shit, and a bully's probably a very insecure motherfucker, a lot of times a bully is saying something that he sees. So you need to take a step back and say, okay, is he being a bully? Yeah. Is she being a bully? Yeah. But are they being honest with what they're saying? Are they saying something in a mean way? Probably. But it's probably, most of the time, it's probably truthful. You might be a fat motherfucker. You might be an out-of-shape motherfucker. You might be a dumb motherfucker. I don't know. But a lot of times what they're saying is true. I looked at this from a different vantage point. Even though their approach was very mean, what they were saying was very honest. And I started learning from the honesty of that. You can learn a lot from the honesty of a bully. The bully needs to learn to be more secure about himself and shut the fuck up. But you can learn a lot from a bully by saying, you know what? What they're saying is true. Don't take it so personal. Don't be so thin-skinned. And so that's where I'm coming from in all this, is that instead of being poopy pants and being upset that you got bullied, look at it from a different vantage point.
Yeah, and I think there's basically two different things that can happen when you get bullied. One, you don't care about the problem. Like, even if it is true, you don't care about it. Okay, yeah, bring it on. That's fine. And then you're not emotionally affected by it because you don't care, because that's who you are and that's what you accept. Number two, you do care and you feel like shit. That's when something's probably true and that you do want to change it. Like there's a gap between your reality and what they're seeing and what you want. And there's two options there. Do nothing about it and feel bad for yourself and keep getting the bullying, or show up and change it. There's two options. That's it.
100%.
And so, I mean, besides obviously just going out and getting after it, I mean, one, accepting the problem, but I mean, what are some tools that people can use if they're just getting started with this? I mean, I know that you have an accountability mirror. I don't know if you want to chat about that, or any other tips or tools if like someone's just starting on this journey.
It all starts with the accountability mirror. You have to be your biggest critic. So that mirror, like, I used to lie a lot. I wanted people to like me so badly. I would tell you whatever the fuck you wanted to hear. If you be my friend, I was so insecure and had I was low on the totem pole in my mind. The first thing I started doing is changing that. And how you change that is look in the mirror, the accountability mirror. It's that dirty mirror we have in the bathroom that has toothpaste on it, all that bullshit. You look at it and you say, okay, am I fat? If you are, call it what you see. Whatever you see in that mirror, and it's not just what you see on the external, it's also what you see internally, how you feel internally. Write that shit down on that mirror. Write it down. Get a little Post-it note. Put it on the mirror. And I'm not saying be mean to yourself, but sometimes it's just being honest. People look at being honest as being fucking mean. Don't try to sugarcoat it. If you're fat, say you're fat. Don't say I eat too much. Don't say I'm big bone. No, fuck all that. If you're fat, say you're fat. Put it up there. Own it. And by owning it, you can now change it. If you're lazy, put up there that you're lazy. Not like I like to sleep a lot. You know, I'm allergic to grass. I'm allergic to soap and water to do dishes. No, motherfucker. Put up there that you're fucking lazy. It's okay. It's okay. So we live in a soft society where we get to say soft things. My book is not for you. If you're a soft person and that's where you want to live and stay, my book is not for you. It's for a person who wants to get raw and real with the reality of real life. Real life is not going to hold you and nurse you to health. Real life's going to look at you, crumble you up, and shit you the fuck out. There's tools and there's ways to stay in it. That's all it's about, man. That's the accountability mirror. Before the bullet gets at you, be your biggest critic and fix all these things, because you can.
So what do you do to prevent the slip back?
You got to stay accountable. So to prevent the slip back, you have to be aware, like for me, whenever I start getting too far away from my roots, what made me who I am, it's that internal dialogue that you got to keep going. What happens is that voice we have in our head saying, hey, you're getting soft, motherfucker. You're getting soft. You're getting weak. We start to get so far away from that voice that we no longer hear it anymore. We now get so comfortable that we no longer hear it. Once you stop hearing that voice, it's time to freak the fuck out. Because now you've developed a whole nice, comfortable reality. What keeps you from slipping back is being constantly aware of where you're at on a daily basis. And that's the whole thing about it. That internal dialogue has to remind you of, hang on a second, man, you're going way outside of who you are as a person. You're creating somebody so different than who you are, you're losing yourself. So don't get it wrong. We want to create a better person, a person that is better, a person that's a freakazoid, a hybrid of who we are, but we cannot forget our core values, what makes us a good human being, what makes us a human being that's willing to go to war with ourselves every day. And so that's the one thing. Keep that dialogue going. Don't ever get too far away from the voice that's guiding you in the right direction.
So what are the things that you do on a daily basis to keep you reminding of that? I mean, do you have any kind of morning routines or evening routines?
I have a big routine that I won't get too big into it now, but one thing I do is I stretch out every single night. My stretch out time is my time to reflect back on my day. Not my week, not my month. You have to, so you can't get too far away from it. I reflect back on my day and I hold myself accountable. Okay, what did I do right and what did I do wrong today? Today I did all these things right. What I did wrong today was I was slipping here, I slipped here. I found myself being weak here, weak there. So I take every day time to reflect back on the day I just lived. And through that reflection process, I fixed the things I was weak at. So that's the whole thing about it, man. We fail all day long, but we have to go back, reflect on the failure, and learn from it. And that's what I do every single night.
Is it something that in the moment you just think about it and then you improve going in the next day? Do you write that stuff down? Do you tack it somewhere for a reminder? How do you approach that?
So I write it down. Once again, this process is very long. The stuff I do is it's taking years to do this. As I'm talking to you right now, which means I'm in the moment. I'm thinking about what I'm saying to you right now, which means if I fuck up something I say to you right now, I know that. I'm like, fuck, I fucked that up. I'm present. Most of us are never present in what we do. Our minds are multitasking all over. If I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about fucking, I have this to do, that to do. That's why we can't think about our fucking day, because we're never present in the moment in which we're in at that time. Why it's easy for me to reflect back on my whole day is because you are now compartmentalized into a category in my brain. This conversation, what I said in its entirety, is now compartmentalized in my brain because I'm with you. That's the first thing about it. Be focused, be hyper-focused in everything you do so then you can give your best to what the fuck you're doing at that time. So many people are all over the map on everything they're doing and they wonder why am I not the best at what I'm doing? Because you're not doing it to your best. So that's what all this is about. It's about being focused on one thing at a time, hyper-focused. It allows you to get that job done, that task done to the best of your ability, and then you move on to the next task, and then you hit the repeat process. So that's how it works for me.
A lot of the things you do seem very meditative. Do you ever meditate specifically to meditate and take time away for that?
Yeah, so I'm not a monk by any means, but I have a monk-like mentality. And I believe in having a meditative state of mind, because I was a very weak-minded person. And I started realizing, my God, this fucking brain of ours is so fucking powerful. And it's just taking me around willy-nilly and dropping me off where the fuck it wants. It just has total control of me. I have no control of this fucking brain of mine. So I started to realize how powerful the mind was. So yes, I meditate a lot because I want total control of my mind, so I don't live like I used to back in the day, having my mind say, hey, we're going over here. It's like a cat. It's just fucking all over the fucking place, just running around with no purpose. So without meditation, without focus, without hyper-focus, without discipline, self-discipline, not just discipline, self-discipline, there is no outcome. The outcome of your life is not the best it can be.
Right. Man, a lot of truth in this conversation. So we chatted a little bit about your book, and I mentioned a few times the audiobook version, which I don't know if you planned this in the beginning, but I'm not a big audiobook guy, but I'm sinking my teeth in this thing. It's very unconventional with the way you guys did it. So one of the guys that helped you put the book together, he's the one who does a lot of the actual narration. And then you guys come in kind of like a podcast and summarize things up, and you add additional details that couldn't even make it into the book. So yeah, you just want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah. So how that came to be is I actually self-published, because all these ideas were my ideas. Once again, I'm a very creative person. I create a lot of things in my mind that I have to overcome and do. So I had to self-publish this because a lot of my ideas people weren't buying off on. No one's ever done this audio book, podcast, radio show, interview thing that you're talking about, David. So the more I heard, the more I realized I have to be myself. So I self-published. I turned down $300,000 to be myself, because that is the one thing that we lose amongst all this. I made $60,000 a year for several years, and I turned down the biggest offer I've ever seen in my life because my biggest trophy is myself. So talking about the audio book, man, that's just something I created that, I want to give these people who are hearing this a real fucking life-changing book. And by me sitting there reading this book, that's boring. By me being able to give you more and more and more, that's how I came up with the reading the book, podcast, radio show, interview process, because it gives the reader more of insight of my brain on where I'm coming from as I wrote the book.
Right. And like you say a lot in the book, that motivation is fleeting, it's kindling. which this book is motivating as hell, and people are going to get a lot of it. But it's it's about taking the challenges in the book. It's about recognizing that and starting on the path and putting in the work. And so, I hope people do that. But besides the book, anywhere else that you want to send people to?
You know what? If you want to follow me, you can follow me at David Goggins. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. But the thing about my whole thing is I don't go out here saying, look at me. Nothing I put out there is about me. Even though this book is my life story, it's in the book is called Can't Hurt Me. It is really about, it's my life story to make you think about your personal life. This book in its entirety makes you think about your life. And that's what all this is about for me. All my Instagram, everything I do is about making you think about yourself to become a better human being, to find more. I'm just a kindling, man. That's all I am.
Well, appreciate it, man. Thanks for being on.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Keto Answers podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, but even if you didn't, I would love a review. Just go over to iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and pop in a review so we can get found by more people, get better guests, and have the information that you need. So please go to iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and leave us a review. And if you're new to keto, head on over to perfectketo.com/podcast and enter your email for all our top tips and guides on getting started with the ketogenic diet. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.